Hello, James here. I wanted to do a video. This time it's covering something totally different. It ain't about relationship this time. I want to bore you. This is particularly I'm gonna gear this towards the black community, the African American male and female. There's something I'm gonna show some stories here. What's going on with the labor market? Because I don't know if you guys know that they submitted a whole bunch, about 450 something thousand permits to some people that illegally came over the country, and this is something it should be addressed in your, as far as employment and business. But first of all, this is if you go and leave your employment like this, like what this commentator said, you need to see what's going on right now. Okay, I'm gonna get to the video.
September is Hunger Action Month, and Middle High Food Collective is spreading the word that hunger exists in every community.
You're black
Learn
man
how
and
to
a black
get help,
woman.
give help,
Watch this
volunteer,
video.
and advocate for hunger.
Other people can comment too.
Working. So much for that. Those numbers came out really low. 3, 4%.
Hold on. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's almost virtually nobody. Gentlemen, with all the talk of reparations, even things that we go through on these jobs is cause for reparations. We know we go through all of the workplace discrimination, workplace racism. We're dealing with the aggressive behavior towards us, the microaggressions, the blatant racism, and the nooses being hung and things being written, the racial slurs on bathroom walls, which I think is the most childish thing ever. But whoever said a racist was mature. So anyway, 49% of the melanated workers out here said they would consider leaving their jobs. And it's all because of everything that you have to constantly go through. And the thing is, the reason why they display attitude and everything towards you or try to find fault in you is because they really truly don't want you there. And not to mention, if they got a family or friend that's in need of a job, the first thing they want to do is push the black man or woman out of their job so that they can give that to their friends and family members, because they love the hell out of nepotism. We all know this. So let's get into this one. So, a lot of our people, it's not unusual for them not to feel content on these jobs. And they'll start seeking other work just to try to get some peace of mind. But unfortunately, that's like a needle in a haystack when it comes down to working in America. So they did a survey and found that 49% of the melanated workforce were not satisfied with their work environment. Who can blame them? Who can blame them? Look, when I was out there working, y'all, even some of the immigrants, because I worked around some immigrants, but they were not necessarily the ones that came from south of the border. Like, I worked with a few Iranians, I worked with Syrians, I worked with some South Africans, and I remember some of them weren't even happy. I worked with also some Asians that were immigrants, and they weren't happy, and some of them were shocked at the climate in America. Because, America always sells this place as, gold paved roads and apple pie and all that stuff, right? So people fall for the hype, and then when they get over here, they're looking at all of this racism. And really, America can't help but show her true colors. So the melanated workers want to work for companies that are transparent about salary and employment advancement. So not only that, but they are prioritizing jobs that value diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. You know what, y'all? That's just a cliche. They don't really do these things. They don't. They don't. They say it, but they don't do it. You know, they just have it there to make it look like they're embracing of everyone, but we know that doesn't happen in America. That's all fantasy. So while many companies have upped their DEIB initiatives, the changes implemented may not be what Black workers are prioritizing. No, the changes are never going to be what you want. And I want y'all to start noticing when they have a diversity manager or director, they're white. And I'm like, what the hell? They're not going to do anything about diversity. And those are the jobs where they do absolutely nothing about diversity. They'll usually give it to a white woman. You know, sometimes it'll be a white man. And they do absolutely nothing about diversity. And I think that's the whole point, is to put somebody in that position that they know will not really rock the boat or change things. And that's exactly what happens. So two major drivers stand out. The first, many workers appear to, the number one thing our melanated men and women are saying is the work environment is hostile. And yes, I believe that. And I've seen that.
We didn't have a great way to get a company-centric message out to our employees. Once we implemented Paylocity, community changed the game.
Style. And yes, I believe that. And I've seen that. I've seen it. And it's always the same people, and it's always the same victims. You know, it never changes. So that's 43% of the workers said they are thinking of leaving their jobs because they are sick of the microaggressions from their co-workers or leadership. And in many cases, both. The second driver is, can be inferred by looking at the misalignment between what respondents say and what companies do as far as prioritizing any type of diversity initiatives. You know, the disconnect between job seekers and employers is driving job seekers away, with the hope that they will find a company that prioritizes diversity. The sad part is, y'all, the vast majority of them don't. They don't. They, like I said, they got crap written down, but they don't enforce what they write. And historically, have this place ever wrote down laws or anything and they used it all the way across the board? They never have. Even when you look at law enforcement, they cherry pick when they want to enforce something and when they don't. You know, this is why when you talk to them folks, you can find many among them that will tell you, oh, well, yeah, you know, I got in trouble, but when I got in court, the judge said, oh, you look like a good kid, and they don't get charged with nothing. Oh, you just made a mistake. You know, that's the kind of stuff that happens. But they sure don't look at a black male or female defendant and say those same words. They only say that when it comes down to their own. Oh, you know, they made a mistake. Oh, they're really a good kid. Really? You're the only ones on the planet that can be good kids and can make mistakes? Really? I mean, it's just laughable when you say it. So anyway, because we know what that means. When we hear those words, what you're really saying is, well, come on, let them get away with it. Let them get away. We know what those words mean. So respondents rank unfair compensation. Yes, that's another one. This is why you can always read the reports. We'll go to college, earn a degree, because we really earn our degrees. We can't use no college cheating scandal. We can't get nobody in Nigeria to do our work because we're not willing to pay nobody to do our work. We'll just struggle and do it ourselves. So being that we don't cheat like that, we're really earning those degrees for real. And got a lot of racism in how salaries are given in this country. So also the lack of advancement and opportunity. And you know what? I was talking to True Royal, and we were speaking on the phone, and this actually came up. And I was telling her, we used to have, and I think I told y'all this before, we used to have this women's meeting within the company, where all the women employees would come together, and we would have this meeting once a month. Well, at some point in time, I stopped going. And they started showing up in at that time I had a cubicle, and were asking, wow, you didn't come to the meeting. You didn't want to go to the meeting? They seemed like they were stunned that I didn't want to show up to their meeting. And here's why I never went back to the meeting. I noticed whenever promotions were given, it always went to the white women in the group. It didn't go to anyone else. And I was like, well, why am I showing up to these meetings? The only ones getting all the benefits and perks and bells and whistles around here are the white women. I'm not coming to this meeting anymore. What do you mean, women? And here's the ironic part, y'all. The women that were getting all the promotions, the raises, and everything were doing the most complaining in the meeting. But the black women, the Latino women, the Asian women, none of us were getting promoted. Just the white women. So I stopped going. And no, I'm not going to sit there and show up for a meeting just to make you look good. I don't have to do that. And I don't have to go and make the numbers look good. I'm not going to help you do that either. So they wanted to have these women meetings, but kept up the same racism when it came down to who got promoted. The only ones getting promoted are those that were white. I was like, man, I ain't coming. I never went back. And they continued to have the meetings. I never went back. So, yes, I do understand the lack of career opportunities. And, and that's why I kept it moving. When I left out of the workforce, I left as a senior manager. And I was the manager of an IT department that ran 24/7. So I had employees come in the morning, the afternoon, and I had employees for the nighttime shift. And that's how I left the workforce. So anyway, so a lack of support from management, yes, and we hear this even to this day, especially when there is an employee being racially harassed on the job. They go to management to report it. The management, because they look like the perpetrator, won't do anything. They'll just listen to you, but they won't do nothing. And nor will they help you. They will never, ever help you in these situations. And that's why they continue to go on. But one thing that has changed, many of our people are now turning around and suing. And you're recording these people, and you're documenting all of the incidents that's occurring, and this is causing a lot of lawsuits, and these people are forced to give up millions of dollars. And we are seeing that a hell of a lot more, even than when I was in the workforce. You're seeing it's more common to see that now. And that's a good thing. So, of course, most often cited by melanated workers across the board is, the salary and the lack of advancement. And they also feel there's a lack of communication from management. Like, because the employees that look like the manager has a tendency of communicating with them a lot better. And then when they come around, the melanated people, they communicate a whole different way. Yeah, I've seen that too. So for the melanated workers who are considering or actively looking for a new job, the following 3 elements were priority. This is what they found when they did the survey. 78% are seeking pay transparency. They don't want to find out they're doing the same job and they're getting less pay because of skin color, which we know happens on the regular in America. 63% want their personal and company values to align with the diversity that they claim they believe in. 60% would like a diversity leadership team. And unfortunately, y'all, they'll probably just put a team of white people together as their diversity team. Just like they put a diversity director, a white woman or a white man. That's not diversity right there. When you see that, you should know automatically that company is not interested in diversity. Okay, so fair pay is the most crucial to a workplace satisfaction and well-being. This is, for workers. And for the subsections of workers who suffer from an unfair pay gap, whether it's due to gender, race, or both, pay transparency can often feel like the only way to ensure a prospective employer is practicing fair pay practices, which they don't do in America. They absolutely don't do this. They don't care about fair pay. In fact, if they could get away with paying us nothing, they would be right on it. Okay, they would be right on it. That's why they love the hell out of these folks that cross the border and come in here. See, they complain about them in one instance, but they love them being here because they can pay them pennies on the dollar. And some of these workers don't even realize they get paid almost like an inmate in prison. So, sure enough, a survey conducted by Harvard Business Review found that pay transparency rapidly spread into public U.S. academic institutions has dramatically reduced the gender pay gap, even eliminated it in some states, and generally caused the academic institution to more consistency and equitably link pay to observable measures of academic productivity. But fair pay alone is not enough. In fact, it is the bare minimum. And many states have or will soon pass legislation making pay transparency standard practice. So it will eliminate a man doing the same job and he's getting paid more than a woman doing the same job. And it will also eliminate that's if the laws are enforced. That y'all don't always believe that you're going to have somebody sitting at the top that's going to enforce things. And it should eliminate black men and women getting less pay than their white counterpart that's doing the same job. But like I said, you're going to always have those people that will be hell-bent on not following the rules and trying to keep the status quo in place. So you got to really watch for those things, because they will do that. They still do this in housing. and they have all kinds of housing laws on the books. And you still got many out here that will still sit and do all kinds of housing discrimination to this very day. They still do it in lending. So even when they put these laws on the books, you know, it's up to us to make sure the laws are enforced when it comes down to pay, to make sure these companies are following suit and doing this, because they're not going to do it. You know, I just found that America just put things on the books just to make themselves look good, but at the end of the day, they don't care whether they really enforce half of this stuff, because they don't. So, you know, there were some respondents that do believe that diversity initiatives were, you know, things that was working out for them. But y'all, it was a very, very low percentage that believed that. You know, it was not very many melanated workers that believed that. It was probably the Candace Owens of our group out there that believed the diversity was working. So much for that. That those numbers came out really low, 3-4%. Yeah, that's almost virtually nobody. So y'all, please tell me what you think about this.
I'm gonna go to the next video what she's talking about.
So there's been a lot of job openings that happen out there in Florida. They're saying right now they need at least up to 500,000 people to come to Florida to help work some of those construction jobs. Well, you have one of our brothers that's going to kind of, you know, talk about the history of what happened with a lot of construction jobs and how a lot of brothers got pushed out of those jobs. Let's go roll that.
So y'all telling me there's a shortage on construction workers in America, especially in Florida? Y'all, some of y'all need almost 500,000 construction workers, and y'all don't have the time to train the new people. And the white people, Europeans, they lazy, they don't do the work right. Black people, y'all ain't say nothing about the blacks. We been in construction. Y'all kicked us out. You say we're not paying these Negroes $25 an hour, $24 an hour, $30 an hour. Let's go hire these Mexicans with no documentation that's coming across the border, give them $9 an hour, $10 an hour. And they gonna work sun up to sundown, dance and eat mangoes. Meanwhile, kick the black brothers out. I was doing construction for 10, 11 years, bro. I went to school, I became a certified operator. I can operate every heavy equipment. I understand construction, I can read blueprints. But I left, I quit because Mexicans are racist. They don't want the brother on the machines. They rather see Jose or Rodriguez, a Mexican on it. And the Mexicans are racist. I'm in Texas, and they are racist out here. They rather see Mexicans. Every construction you go to in Texas, nothing but Mexicans. If you black, if you are not Mexican, you black, you're gonna be holding a sign. Paying you $12 an hour to stand there and hold a sign. When an operator like me, advanced, read blueprints, certified, can operate, they rather pay me $18. I'm not doing it. So now, y'all talking about there's a shortage, right? So, it's time for the blacks to come on back, get their jobs back, pay them the money and stop pocketing it while y'all paying the immigration status, undocumented Mexicans, $9 an hour, $10 an hour, and pocketing the rest. Y'all can't do that no more. So these contractors are crying. And now y'all, you feel me? Now, hey, if I was you black brother, I left. I went to driving. Mostly all blacks in Texas, if you black in Texas, they kicked us out of the construction industry. So now you're going to find us driving or getting CDLs. That's what most brothers are doing. But if that money if this happened in Texas, I am going back to construction. I ain't going to lie. Because now y'all got to pay. Y'all got to pay the right amount of money. You know what I mean? Like, real talk, everywhere I went to construction, I'd be the only black dude. Like, and then they don't want to see you operate to look like you know what you're doing. And I work hard. I work hard just as hard as these. It's coming over here at the border. Facts. Now I do towing. Now I would tow you. You know what I mean? But that's what y'all get, and that's what you Mexicans get. So, ride how you want, pay that money, man.
I remember, when I was growing up, if you could not find a job as a man, most people say, hey, go get your construction job. And I remember brothers was doing all the construction, definitely in the 80s. I remember that. Definitely remember seeing brothers doing construction, definitely in the 90s. But there was a big change, and the brothers wasn't doing the construction anymore. It was Mexicans or different other Hispanics doing all the construction jobs. Now, this brother's saying that, of course, we all knew that they hired them and they don't even pay them right. They hired them at a cheaper rate. Of course, they're going to let go to black people, but they have to pay the black people right. Black people know their worth and what the job should pay versus the people that came over here. And as I stated on my podcast, some people come from countries where they're only earning $2 to $3 a day. So you go from $2 to $3 a day to a $9 an hour job. Man, you didn't hit the big time. You're grateful for that. You're happy. You got money to send back home. Where you come from and all of that. So hell yeah, you gonna work 12 hours and be happy to work those 12 hours. And you get money you never got in your life. You understand? So yes, the more
million construction workers, and y'all don't have the time to train the new people. And the white people, Europeans, they lazy, they don't do the work right. Black people, y'all ain't say nothing about the blacks. We been in construction. Y'all kicked us out. You say we're not paying these Negroes $25 an hour, $24 an hour, $30 an hour. Let's go hire these Mexicans with no documentation that's coming across the border. Give them $9 an hour. $10 an hour.
And the job don't be that good.
They gonna work sun up to sundown, dance and eat mangoes.
And the job don't be that good.
Yes, I've also seen on some of these jobs, just myself, how yes, there are some racism that come in also from people from Latin America. But if you talk to brothers and sisters that live over there, they go through it all the time with a lot of racism and white supremacy there in Latin America. So when they come up here, do you think anything has changed? Now, I'm not saying all of that way, no, but you do have some that are that way. I talked about that before, how they try to sabotage brothers on these jobs and get them fired so they can bring in their uncle, their cousin, etc. Well, I know exactly what he's talking about.
Nepotism.
Like, it's not, nobody's on this, we all the same and let's work together. No, because in their own countries, they have a lot of anti-black racism. Matter of fact, black people are literally hidden in their countries. There are black people in every Latin American country, but they're not. If you watch their television, you watch a Telemundo, Univision, or whatever, you never see a black Latino. Just go, even if you don't understand Spanish, just go watch their news, go watch their commercials. I'm not saying if they show one here and there. I'm not talking about when they dubbing an American commercial. I'm talking about just watch their news, watch anything that's presenting in their movies, etc. Even they don't like to show the indigenous people either. Not just the black, but the indigenous people. Indigenous people that's almost dark as me. Those indigenous people, they don't like to show them either. They like to show the more white-skinned ones on TV, etc. Do you remember all the controversy they had with Black Panther 2 and the actor that played Namor? How they were so pissed about him playing Namor. Now, you would think they'd been happy about it, like representation, right? But no, they was pissed because he was indigenous. That's what they were so pissed about. Not looking whiter skin. So when they come up here, some of them do come up here with those ways.
Brother Zod, I was doing construction for 10, 11 years, bro. I went to school, I became a certified operator. I can operate every heavy equipment. I understand construction, I can read blueprints. But I left, I quit because Mexicans are racist. They don't want the brother on the machines. They rather see Jose or Rodriguez, a Mexican, on it. And the Mexicans are racist. I'm in Texas, and they are racist out here. They rather see Mexicans. Every construction you go to in Texas, nothing but Mexicans. If you black, if you are not Mexican, you black, you're gonna be holding a sign. Paying you $12 an hour to stand there holding a sign.
You know you should be planning for the future. But savings accounts suck. And invest.
Every hour of every day she spent at the large financial institution where she works as an auditor.
You have to have these two separate lives.
Her life at home, where she was her whole self, and her life at work, where as the only black person in her department, the mask rendered her a shadow of herself.
There's already an idea of who you are. You have to always be conscious of how you present to other people.
Hands up!
Am I being too loud? Am I fitting into very specific stereotypes? If I come in and say, I'm having a hard day. I don't even know if I want to be here right now because another black person just got murdered. I don't think people really have the capacity to take on someone else's energy.
Would you call it isolating?
Most definitely.
It's an isolation that is painfully familiar to people of color in the workplace, from encountering racist jabs known as microaggressions to being overlooked for promotions. But some of that changed when the pandemic hit. A survey by the Slack think tank Future Forum found that black employees experienced less stress and their sense of belonging skyrocketed 50% once they started working from home.
Slack survey finds 97% of black knowledge workers want the future of the office to be remote or hybrid. Not surprising. I think people having gone through this past year and experiencing the constant cuts from microaggressions and the fatigue of living through the pandemic are just tired. And to go back to what they knew after having experienced some level of relief, they don't want to go back to that.
For Tisha, working from home wasn't just an escape. It was a chance to be herself.
It was great to be in this sea of people.
To march with her family after George Floyd was killed.
Wanting to see change.
To unmask herself at work.
I volunteered and said, at where I work, I would like to do this. I wrote an article. The title of the article is Why is Self-Reflection Not Enough? Self-reflection is not enough if you want to be an ally.
What was it like bringing that part of yourself to your professional environment when that's normally not something that you do?
I think it was that gate that needed to be open. I do a lot of things outside of work, but then doing it at work really did help me bring more of myself forward because I don't want to wear a mask. I do want to be my full authentic self. I want to be able to show up in any space with any person and be Tisha 100% all the way through.
That Slack study concluded in order to give black employees a greater sense of belonging, employers should embrace flexible work as part of their central principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
And we're hearing from a former Tesla employee who sued and won a discrimination lawsuit against the automaker. ABC News reporter Rebecca Jarvis has more on the racial abuse he endured.
We just want to be just treated and seen as equal human beings.
This morning, a former Tesla contract worker speaking out after a San Francisco federal court decided the electric car maker must pay him $137 million over claims he suffered racist abuse at the company. Owen Diaz, who was hired through a staffing agency in 2015 as an elevator operator at Tesla's factory in Fremont, told the court he faced a hostile work environment where employees drew swastikas and racist graffiti on bathroom stalls, where coworkers told him to go back to Africa, and ethnic slurs were heard routinely. Diaz says nothing was done to stop it, quitting after roughly 1 year on the job and ultimately suing.
They decided not to follow through. They decided to kill investigations. You can't keep treating workers like this.
Now, Tesla, whose founder and CEO is Elon Musk, ordered to pay Diaz $130 million in punitive damages and $7 million in emotional distress, an unprecedented amount for racial discrimination cases.
A lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. They have to choose to take the abuse that these billion-dollar companies are putting out or feed their families.
In an internal email to employees Monday following the verdict, posted on the company's website, Tesla's VP of People writing, "Although the facts they have of the case don't justify the verdict reached by the jury in San Francisco, we do recognize that in 2015 and 2016, we were not perfect. We're still not perfect, but we have come a long way from 5 years ago."
Hopefully it will make them change and make other companies change and realize racist conduct has no place in the workplace.
Particularly in job situations. They set black people up. One thing, many white supremacists have concluded that in most cases, or in many cases, black people, non-white people, act according to their emotions. So they know what buttons to push. They just about know when they're going to fire you and how they're going to go about doing it. Because they know when they're going to make you angry. They know how to make you angry. They know how to make you laugh. They know how to get you to relax. They know how to get you uptight. So they say, okay, well, we're going to get rid of that fella today. So we'll have him come in and we'll start telling him this and telling him that and whatnot. We got our own strategies and whatnot. And we have been studying him, and we know that he has a temper. So at this point, this one thing, because white supremacists always study their victims, and they know more about their victims than the victims know about themselves, all right? The white supremacists know more about me than I will ever know about myself, all right? They make it their business to do that. So they can kind of predict behavior. And in job situations, when they get rid of a non-white person, they'll say, hey, what we'll do, we'll make him mad. Because we know what will make him mad. So, about 9 o'clock today, when he does this and whatnot, you go over and say to him this, and this. Now that'll get him angry. And he's going to immediately blow up. He's going to start calling names and all like that. And today, by 5 o'clock, he'll be fired. So we'll just set him up for that. He'll walk right into the trap. He won't be expecting it. And this happens all the time.
Yes.
See what I mean? So non-white people should be aware of this. When they get ready to get rid of you, everything is just fine, but now he's got a cousin that needs your job, and he says, hey, well, Henry, that black guy down there, he's got that position, and he's doing an excellent job and all like that. Say, well, but my cousin needs that job. So how are we going to get rid of Henry and do it all nice and neat? Say, well, we'll make him angry. So you know how these people are. They always got a chip on their shoulder and whatnot. They always want somebody to respect them. Mm-hmm. They're real big on respect. So you say something that sounds like you're disrespecting them, he's going to go off. It's not going to be disrespect. Because these black people don't even know what respect is. See, they just know what we have told them.
So they set them up.
They don't have a definition for respect. Mm-hmm. They think they do. Okay? So we'll have them play in our hands, just like they do with everything that we relate to them. That's why we're dominant. That's why we're white supremacists. And that's why they're always victims. Because they do not think ahead. They only think about how they feel at the moment. And we'll always use that against them. Because they're very emotional people. Fly off the handle real quick. But you got to know what buttons to push. And we know what buttons to push because we understand them better than they understand themselves.
You're being set up. Yeah.
When you run the kindergarten, you know your children. All right? And that's what the white supremacists look at the whole world of non-white people. They say, we know how to move these people around. They don't even know they're being moved around. We know how to, set them up for, make them laugh like you wouldn't believe. And we know how to make them mad. Just have them, storming around the place, knocking things over. We know how to do that. See, so we'll just orchestrate it. Anytime we want them to do anything, I mean, we know how to handle them. They don't know anything about how to handle us, even though they think they do. That's why they're in the position that they're in, and we're in the position that we're in. We're white supremacists, and they are victims of white supremacy, just like all their ancestors, because they didn't know anything either.
Hey everyone, as you might know, I recently purchased the...
I want to show you this video. Let's go back to...
You know, many of you are working jobs, you know, definitely working for the folks, you know, and like I said, I pray that you can start your own business so you don't have to do that anymore. And sometime, I've experienced this, but this brother's going to talk about something that maybe some of you have experienced on jobs, especially a lot of brothers. I don't know about the sisters as much, and I have not seen it as much with the women, but I've definitely seen it with black men. When we get together and have conversations on the job, let's go ahead and roll what our brothers have to say.
Racism ain't nothing but a mind game. I'm gonna tell you a matter of fact about the one time I finessed my plant manager when I was young. Now, at this job, it was only two of us that was black, and whenever we talked or was together, they always had to interrupt or try to separate. But however, when the white folks be at work in the break room, as long as they won't, nobody say nothing. It ain't even break time. They outside smoking cigarettes. Nobody say nothing. So one time, me and my homie, we chopping it up. Plant manager come up. Hey, is it, any work needs to be done in the back? I'm like, yeah, I got you. No worries. You mind if I ask you a question right quick? He's like, sure. This where it got funny. I'm like, now what I'm about to ask you, it's only two answers you can give me, but whatever you say gonna tell me everything about your whole character. He got real uncomfortable. He's like, okay. I'm like, how would you define white privilege in your words? He got hella uncomfortable. You know what it is? The workplace, I don't really want to talk about that. I said, I figured you was going to say that, and I walked out. From that day on, he didn't give me no problem. She was extra beyond nice. Anytime, it was overtime, anything, let me know. He was extra nice. And this is what I did. It's all in the mind. Now, what I did was this. It's two answers. Somebody that's obviously not racist has no problem saying, white privileges, things that I get away with because of my skin color, blah, blah, blah. They have no problem admitting that. But racists, on the other hand, they don't like to admit that that type of stuff exists, so they get hella uncomfortable. They either gonna play stupid like what it is, which how I know what it is and I ain't even white, or they gonna just dance around the whole topic, and that's what he did. But what I did is I never called him a racist. I never said anything. I just kind of painted a picture, and I said, I figured you would say that. Never accused him of nothing. And so from then on, he felt like his cover was blown and he had to try to be extra nice to prove that he wasn't what he really was. That's how you beat him at the young game.
I know exactly what this brother is talking about. I experienced it my whole life when I was working for the folks. Now, I remember one time, that this is one that sticks out in my mind. So we used to work like a straight night shift when I first started at this particular company. For a few years, and we worked straight nights. So I was working 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. That was my schedule. I loved that schedule. I was working 4 on, 4 off. So 4 12s, so if you take a vacation, then you would have 12 days off, right? So great schedule to work. And then they switched it maybe some years later where we was working 2 weeks a days, which is 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I think they switched it to 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then nights was 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. So 2 weeks of days, 2 weeks of nights. Of course, we was upset by that, of course, because we loved our nights. The reason why we loved our nights, we had to deal with none of the supervisors. We all did what we had to do. Gauged our tanks. We was climbing them tanks, getting gauges at night. Split them up. Those tanks would be anywhere from like 40 feet, to maybe like 50 feet. I think the smaller ones are maybe about 30 some odd feet tanks, and we have to climb up these tanks, get gauges every night on different products like used oil, different lube oils, crude, etc. that we had to do. And so we went to days. They used to have some complaints about people on days. Well, at that time period, we was doing about 80 trucks a day. Now the trucks we were doing was tanker trucks. We was offloading them, and they was coming in. So they ended up putting us.
We definitely have ants in here.
Not for long.
Nice.
What's going on here?
It was coming in. So they ended up putting us on days, and they had some other brothers there. So it was like me and I think And I'm gonna call names. If you see the video, you'll laugh about it. I think it was me, Danny, Safety Man, he know who he is, crazy brother, he's funny. I think it was Irie that was there, I think Big Mike. So we all, doing our job. They just talking about how great we work, how fast we work. Oh man, the work gets done so great with them. Something they never said before about the other crews. So we out there having a conversation. I think we was talking about, I think maybe some basketball and something else. Now, no work was going on, right? Nothing was really going on. So we had this conversation. Yeah, the supervisor, he was way off. But we saw him just like, I peeped him, and I said, what are you looking at? So I was like, whatever. So we was up there talking, and he just kept staring and staring. And then eventually he come walk up, and he said, hey fellas, kind of spread out a little bit. Y'all hanging out, and we looking at him like, and then I think Big Mike at the time saying, good and well, when these other people around here talking the same way we're talking, it's never an issue and problem. But it's a problem. We sit down and we not sit down, actually we was all standing up. And we having a conversation, and if something had to be done, we was right there. So we think, boom, okay, let's go get to work, we'll get the job done, we can come back and have a conversation after that. I've seen that was just one instance I'm describing. But it's like every time as black people we get together and have a conversation, they either try to break it up, or this other thing they do. They will try to just come and get into our conversation, right? So we'll be talking and they'll smile and they try to interject themselves in our conversations. And what they try to do is try to say like, hey, I'm important to be in your conversation. I'm going to just start trying to get in and domineer colonize our conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like the same thing that happened recently when I was in Atlanta. When me and Brother Sharif have a conversation, we talking about business, talking about filming, we talking about the cameras, we talking about all kinds of, then the folks are trying to just interject themselves in our conversation. We didn't ask them to get in. We didn't say, hey, what do you think? We didn't do anything. We didn't know these people, right? But every time brothers are having a conversation, intelligent conversation, I talk about Cardi B or Sexy Red or any of those kind of people, Sukihana, we're not having them dumb conversations. We actually have conversations about business or things like that, and the folks want to get in it. Now, where did it come from? Where does it come from? It comes from way back to slavery. They had laws on the books that no more than two black people can be together at one time. Because in their rabbit mind, we're trying to plot on them. We try to plot revolts. We're trying to plot this. So while we laughing and talking and how we talk or whatever, they in their mind, we plotting on them. We doing something to them. And that's their guilty conscience that they run around with constantly. I would want to have that kind of guilty conscience that every time I see a group of people, I'm thinking they're trying to plot on me. Man, that's not a way to live. Sorry, it's not. If I felt that way about a group of people, and I feel we got some sort of beef, let's go ahead and handle that beef, because I wouldn't want nobody running around, being around me that I'm thinking plotting on me because we got some beef. I do not want any kind of people around me like that. But unfortunately, these people rather run around and think about us plotting on them than just going on and making peace with us, and that way they never have to worry about nobody even thinking like that, right? If we don't even think like that on a good day, we're not even concerned with them. The most thing that we want is black people just to leave us the hell alone. That's really what we want. We don't want to mess with you. Like, you do you, we do us, and that's the end of it. But they can't stay in that, because if they feel that if we getting by ourselves and just doing our own thing, in their mind, we plotting over there too. Everything about them, they center themselves into everything. So, with that brother saying like not to call him a racist, yeah, don't do that. Don't ever do that. You can say a whole lot of things without saying it. Trust me on that. And one thing they can't stand is an extremely smart black man or woman. They can't stand that. When they tell you statements like, wow, you're very smart, you're very articulate, and then you respond back to them and say, what, I wasn't supposed to be? I wasn't supposed to be smart and articulate? Why would you say that? Or what you do to them when you hear them say statements like that, when you hear them talking about something, go up to them and say, wow, you're very articulate. I'm amazed how articulate you are. Do the same things they do to us back at them, right? And they know exactly what you do when you do that. And then it checks them like, oh shoot, I should not be saying anything like that. Because you understand, their anti-black racism is so on autopilot for a lot of them. I've lived long enough to know this. Some of them don't really realize when they're doing it. Some of them. Now, some of them know exactly what they're doing. But some of them, it's so ingrained into their culture that they're so used to doing it that until you point it out and say, hey, this is anti-black racism. Oh, shoot, I didn't realize. We've been talking like that forever. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to that brother, because unfortunately, working for the folks, you're going to be dealing with these kind of issues, so that's a good way to back off.
Aw, did nobody come to your party?
Very interesting.
Wait, I'm not 14 anymore. I use a vent.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. So I want to chime in on this topic right here that I feel is one of those topics that is something that needs to be talked about, and an understanding needs to be had, because there are things happening that some people don't want to acknowledge. I consider this, should I say, to be one of those uncomfortable truths that some people don't want to verbalize. Okay. So anyway, we're talking about a situation here where this guy on the screen says unqualified whites have jobs that black people need a PhD for. Then of course, let me tell you, as I read the article, you're going to see that people are trying to make waves about this, like he's saying something that is divisive. It's always divisive when you're telling truth about inequities, right? We're going to talk about it anyway, though, because there is a whole lot of truth to what this young man is saying, but because it's an uncomfortable truth, they want to label it as something that is divisive or damaging somehow. So anyway, let's get into this uncomfortable truth. Now, right away I could tell that there is a lean to the article. First of all, it's on Fox News, right? And they title it, Democrat in Virginia Race says unqualified whites are or have higher paying jobs or high paying jobs that black people need a PhD for. So what does being a Republican or a Democrat have to do with what he's saying? So I wanted to point that part out up front. They wanted to say a Democrat is saying this. So what does that mean? Whether a Republican or a Democrat said it, it doesn't matter, right? Now I also want to point out that usually when you do have a so-called black person who is a Republican, they already have a mindset that there is no racism in the country. It trips me out when you have so-called black Democrats who want to pretend like there is no divide here in this country. Anyway, let's get into this. It says, the Democrat candidate. Again, what does that have to do with anything? And one of the most closely watched state legislature races in Virginia said earlier this year that unqualified white people are able to secure high-paying jobs while black people need a PhD to be considered for the same type of job. Hey, I believe that. They know it's true, but they want to pretend. People want to pretend. Think about the fact that they were talking about affirmative action allows unqualified blacks to get into school, but there was no challenge to the legacy admissions where it had nothing to do with qualifications at all, but the fact that a cousin or a grandfather or uncle or an aunt went to the school, even if that young person today didn't prove that they were qualified, that legacy admission got them in, right? The same people who were screaming and hollering about affirmative action had nothing to say about legacy admissions. Ain't that something? Anyway, Nadarius Clark, a political activist and former member of the Virginia House of Delegates, who hopes to win another term, made the claim during an April 17, 2021 episode of his former podcast, Politi-Talk. When he and a guest host were discussing what they said was the unfair treatment of black people by the police. Okay. So are they trying to deny that there's unfair treatment even there? It amazes me how people can see something very clearly, but they can't speak on it very clearly. They want to talk in circles or pretend like what you're saying has no validity to it. Anyway, it says, I refuse to have to teach my kids. Oh my goodness, I hate the way they put these ads on the screen. Let me scroll that down. So, I refuse to have to teach my kids how to be a perfect person when that doesn't exist. It is ridiculous that we have to dot our I's and cross our T's just to have a regular job, Clark said during the podcast. Well, he's telling the truth, but the truth hurts the ears of those who despise the truth. Right, anyway, there he is, Nadarius Clark. It says, our counterparts, the Caucasian, can be mediocre and still get a $100,000 job. Okay? We have to be, we've got to have a doctorate degree, a PhD, to get let in those doors. We have to be overqualified to get half of what an unqualified Caucasian would get, he added. We went on to call for society to have a change in social norms. His guest co-host, Stephanie Malone, agreed but offered an inaudible response. Okay. Going on, Clark was first elected in 2021 but resigned from his seat this year after moving to run for re-election in a new district in accordance with Virginia law. Following the House of Delegates district map being redrawn. He now faces Republican and retired Navy Captain Mike Dillander in the race for the 84th District, one in which both parties have poured considerable money and could ultimately decide which party controls the House of Delegates in the battleground state. Okay, there's another stupid ad. Let me just... Okay, so that's pretty much it on the article. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry about that, y'all. Stuff just is on the screen there. But what trips me out is that folk want to pretend like, oh my God, I can't believe he's saying such things, right? As if it's causing some type of racial divide for him to be pointing out something that's obvious. I'm like, gee whiz. Gee whiz. Are you saying that what he's saying is not true? It is absolutely true, and they know it. People know that it's true, but it's an uncomfortable truth. There are cases and situations where black people do have to be overqualified. You have to reach for the stars and just have credentials oozing out your ears in order to get something that another person don't have to do much at all. All they have to do is present themselves. I remember we know someone very close and dear who had A1 credit, right? And they were trying to get a loan for something. Now again, keep in mind their credit was spotless. It was pristine, flawless. And they said the bank, they were only trying to borrow, I believe at the time, $5,000. And then they said the bank wanted an arm and a leg. They wanted information on top of information. They had the qualifications, they had the credit score, and they had the collateral. But the bank made them jump through hoops just to get $5,000. Now, this was their testimony. Now, we've heard situations of, I remember there was a show where this woman said all she had to do was write down a makeshift business plan on a napkin. She said she wrote it on a napkin, and she wanted to borrow a few $1,000s for a business venture that she thought of, and she wrote the plan out on the napkin. Being a white woman, she said she got that approval without any type of hoops to jump through whatsoever. It was like, oh, we think that's a great idea. It's worth checking into, right? Now, again, this is an uncomfortable truth some of you don't want to face. Black person who have all of the qualifications, all of the collateral, the credit score, the proof in the pudding that they are capable of making the payments for the loan, had to jump through hoops where someone who didn't even have a professionally drawn up business plan didn't have to jump through any hoops. But yet you have people who want to sit back and pretend like things are fair and that we're just talking out of the side of our necks. Anyway, y'all, I'm done with this story. I just wanted to point this out that maybe, let me just add a little bit more before I'm done. Maybe we should really consider as much as possible doing our own thing. This is why we really push the whole idea of trying to tap into markets where you can create an income for yourself without having to extend yourself to people who don't want to hire you because they don't think you look the part. They feel like you're not qualified because you don't look the part, whereas they don't have the same attitude towards people who look like them. It is what it is, y'all, but this is just me pointing out the fact that people in this world are not fair, but they want to sit back and pretend like what we're talking about isn't valid. I'm done. Chop it up in the comment section. As always, keep it tight and keep it real.
Okay, so what do you say about that? Hold on 1 minute. So what do you guys say about that? So here's the solution. Remember Dr. Claude Anderson from our black viewers out there? This is what he's talking about having your own industries, you have your own business, so you can hire people, because right now there's a lot of nepotism, and some people in different ethnic groups that have businesses practice nepotism. They can put it out there that they can be equal opportunity, but they don't have to pay you as equals. And they can selectively use you and abuse you as unequal. So, solution is that why don't you learn a skill and start your own. Start a trade and build up your own. For the African American, that's what's happened. Because this Biden administration pretty much telling you, from the Republican to the Democrat, they don't give a darn about you. So, it ain't fighting like hell not to give you reparations. So, take that brains, take that skill, take that inventive sense, it's in our heritage, and build up your own stuff. And maybe you have to go international to get money if they don't want to compensate you here. Maybe there's people on the outskirts of the United States that can probably help out if they don't want to help you out here. Sometimes you have to take your inventions, your ideas somewhere else. Because it's almost like a biblical saying, like a prophet is not even welcome in his own land. So black men and black women, if you got a skill, you don't have to put up with that stuff. Create your own and develop your own. And we know how to do it in the black community. You know how to do stuff that very inventive, and don't teach nobody nothing. A lot of you come from your ancestors from the slave plantations, that you got creative ideas. Let these other nationalities and these individuals, or these thinking that we're dumb, we're lazy, we're not inventive. Let them keep thinking like that, because the proof is gonna build up that whatever you do, whatever you educated for, whatever you master with, you do it. And if right thing, maybe get with some other black businesses and do some contract work and hire your own. this Dr. Claude Anderson, I've been playing videos in the past that it's about, we try to be, everybody's not want to be equal when it comes to survival. Everybody don't have the Christ-like mindset when it comes to survival. They think about their own. They want to communicate with their own. And you see them cases in them different states that the guy was telling you about. And that's just one of the incidents. It's just not including the microaggressions. So if you have some type of skill, trade, create your own. Develop your own. Work with your own. Pour it to your own. Be business-like among your own. And deal with your own people. That's the solution. And then some of you have the skills. And you can build a Wall Street and don't even know it. We got black people that can build a Wall Street up. You got enough skills. You got it. You're fast. You're quick at it. You have the God-given talent. And so serving these folks don't matter. All you gotta do, you have to have the encouragement and have the mind skill. But you got it. Some of you have it. Now some of us got it. Some of us know how to be professional. I hope the other ones that understand how to be professional. And this is why it's important to have your own. They try to knock you, and this is what he's been trying to tell you. They're knocking, and this is what Phil Whitman was just saying. They come to compete at the same time. The work world, the business world is about competition, capitalism. So it's about competition. Even these other nationalities. And you spend your money to help these other nationalities. Tons of money. You're not developing your own community. That's why if you spend with a black business, that black business will probably employ people that look like yourself and don't have to go to the microaggression of being around these people that don't think you're not intelligent enough to run a business, that you're lazy, you're shiftless, that you're emotional, unstable. You understand what I'm saying? If they let them think that way, let them keep thinking, while you success, they'll figure it out. They'll figure out one day that we are all, God gave us the capability. But it's subconsciously, they're going to be racist. Subconsciously, they're going to be prejudiced. So the best thing for you to do is work with each other, spend with each other. Be business and professional with each other. Excuse me. Because you are what you got. You're about to be knocked into the fourth and fifth class of American citizen, even though you're one of the first classes that the most inventions people in this country. But they're about to knock you in another class. This is what other people are trying to tell you and push, and you have to be wise on your spending. That's the only way you're going to be able to compete against them. Cut back off your spending. Because right now, they have it statistically, you spend more and you produce more in the economy, but you're not benefit from it. You understand? You're not benefit nothing from it. You're spending so much on these materialistic things, but you're not investing. Think about it. This is to you. It's about competition. Capitalism. That's America. And everybody don't want to be equal. And not everybody want to do business equally. It's ingrained in them to think that some people think that black people are lazy or shiftless. That's why they call us the N-word. Out of hatred and jealousy. That's a fact. You think these same people treat you like that? Some of them. I'm not saying everybody, but the ones that do. It's up to you. What you gonna do? You just heard you just heard how to do. Now, if you're on the job, there's ways to survive that. I had to play that video. If you see it, but don't let it break you down unless you're strong enough to deal with it. So stay encouraged, black man, black woman, when it comes to your work and your business. Alright then, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed this video. Share, like, and subscribe, and share with some other people. And get creative. Create your own. Let proof show them wrong. These are shiftless people. Why are they building up another Wall Street? Think about it. Let's see who's the shiftless, lazy, incompetent people. We did it before. We can do it again. Be blessed. Take care.